Welcome everybody to Astrology Unplugged. I'm Rick DiClemente, and welcome to our discussion tonight where I was going to talk a lot about Mr. Trump and how he mixes with the United States chart, which I've already done once, but I'm going to do it again for many different reasons. And then up popped Mr. O'Reilly. So let me get all our microphones muted, and it looks like Mr. O'Reilly's taking center stage. So I'm going to show you why Mr. O'Reilly is the way he is. And I had to mute Shirley there for a second. Shirley's chart will be covered later on. So we're going to look at Bill O'Reilly's chart and see why the only country in the world where you can be blackballed and thrown out from the top of the mountain and end up with $25 million. Okay. I'm sure he made a lot of money for the Fox network. Anyhow, I'm going to show you why Mr. O'Reilly, being a Virgo, does not behave like one at the same time he does, and what happened to him. And when you see a big sex scandal, it's always Neptune. Neptune always strips you bare, strips you naked, and shows you who you really are spiritually. That's what happened to him. Other things too. Everybody, just come when you come. You don't have to tell me why. And have a seat when you do, and it'll be just fine. Okay, let's skip right now to O'Reilly's chart. I'll show you. Okay, I'm looking at my monitor. There's O'Reilly's chart. I do not have a birth time, and when you don't have a birth time, you use noon. Born in New York City, September 10th, 1949. Okay. When you do a lot of astrology, you will remember certain dates. And the 1947 people, 1948 people, were born with Saturn and Pluto in Leo. You'll see these patterns through time. He's born in 49, so he in fact has one planet in Leo. Then Mars comes in, and you'll see what are called subgenerations. This is why one high school class is different than the other high school class, because of the medium moving planets, the planets that move at medium speeds, such as Saturn, Jupiter, etc. So when you expect a Virgo, you don't expect them on the air. You expect them to be absolute experts at what they do. They're always very well groomed. They're very, very polite. They don't want attention. They're very pro-life. I mean, pro-people is what I mean. They're not controversial. They are the last sign you would expect to have sexual problems as far as harassment. So we know that there's a lot of other things in his chart. This is a great example of how other things in the chart, in fact, do get in the way. Hello, Miss Susan F. Hello, Miss Erica. I'm going to mute everybody. All right. So back to the chart. Okay, now, I'm getting, somebody's not muted. I don't know who it is. There she is. All right. Now, first thing you notice is the sun is in Virgo, and Saturn is close by. 7 degrees is kind of a big orb, but it's still very significant. I call Saturn and Virgo people the drill sergeant aspect. Not always. So if any of you people have one of these, 2 of these planets, don't freak out. I'm teaching a class here about the planets. Saturn and Virgo by itself is very much a drill sergeant placement for Saturn. Okay? What does Saturn and Virgo say? Get to work, no crying, no whining, get to work, get things done, be productive. You can't go nuts about one thing. You have to learn astrology by combining the whole chart together. His moon is in Aries. Now, this is one of the major things that's different about his chart. Plus, the whole chart is a bucket pattern. The whole chart is here, and the moon is down here by itself, making him very Cancerian, lunar, because the moon is by itself. So we got three major factors already. We haven't touched the rising sign. You don't want to see it? A Virgo, sun next to Saturn, the moon opposite all things in the sign of Aries. Mr. Zivio, I'm going to mute your sound too. So please mute your sound until it's time for you to be speaking during questions. Okay, now, so we see Sun, Saturn, and Virgo, moon in Aries. This is the north node. This is Eris. Don't look at these two. All right? Let's see if I get, here we are. There's the moon. You notice all the planets are up here. This is a bucket pattern. This moon is not only at the tip of the handle of the bucket, making it the most important planet in a way, but you've got a T-square here. Moon is opposite Venus, and they are both square to Jupiter. Okay? Moon is opposite Venus, square to Jupiter. All right? What in the world does that mean? What that means is, how you doing there, buddy? Psst, slap you in the back. Hey, here's no problem. Boom. How you doing? Buy you a drink? What the hell? That's the exaggerated Jupiter. That's what it does. Otherwise known as a used car salesman. He can get away with this, hey, buddy, hey, pal, how are you? How you doing? Because it's directly connected to the moon and Venus. Very personal, emotional planets. Now, here's what's weird about just the sun and moon. The moon in Aries being very strong, keep in mind, he's very lunar because the moon is exaggerated. And he's very moon in Aries because the moon in Aries is exaggerated. He's both. He's Aries and Cancerian, or Aries and lunar. So away goes that shyness of Virgo, because you got the Aries. They're not shy. Sitting in the back seat, away that goes, because you got the Aries wants to be on the front hood ornament. So there's the confidence to be on national TV every night, out in front, leading, pioneering. Right or wrong, but there he is. That's what's doing it. It's the moon in Aries. Now he's got a balance in a lot of nice ways. The Virgo calms down that Aries. It makes the Aries much more mature and not just self-oriented. But it brings about that attack mode. One of the main things, if you watch Mr. O'Reilly, he's the moralist. He's always preaching what's morally right. That's coming from the very, very strong Chiron and a very strong Virgo. Let's take another look and you'll see. The Chiron is very strong in the sign of Sag because it's rising in the first house. Chiron in Sag is very moralistic. I'm right. I'm doing the right things. I'm following God's scriptures. What's wrong with you? You got to keep an eye on that. And it's square to Saturn. So what he's constantly doing is justifying, what's the word? Justifying being Sarge-like. Justifying, what's the word where these countries have become dry and emotionless? Liza? Oh, I don't know. Stringent. This movement for all these countries have become.
How about indifferent?
Austerity. Austerity. And if there's any theme that goes through Fox, that goes through the Republican Party, that goes through the Tea Party, it's austerity. Austerity is this chart. Reasons why I can't give you a nickel. Go get your own nickel. It is very much a Virgo quality. I'm not messing around tonight. I'm going to let you know the truth. If I'm wrong, tell me. But it's not all Virgos. Virgos can be fantastic people, but one of the real rips on Virgo is they're austere and they're always trying to justify why their lack of emotion. Why the lack of emotion is not because they want to be emotionless. It's not because they're heartless. They're very nice people. They're very just people, but they don't do well with emotion because emotions are messy things. Hey, John, don't give me any score. I see you looking off screen. I don't want any score. But that's what happens with Virgo. And it can be very tough when you have too much Virgo energy. Now, you get a Virgo with a nice balance, and they can be phenomenal people because they have a great sense of purity and being just, and they're very honest. But when you got it mixed in with Saturn next to it, you got the guy leaning already towards austerity. When you got the moon in Aries out front, he's going to deliver how he feels and tells you. But when you got the moon by itself, he's very Cancerian, lunar, and he's going to whine. He's going to whine. It's frightening that this guy has the #1 rated show. Had. Okay, keep looking further because this doesn't tell us a lot. A lot of people are Virgos with a moon in Aries and they do fine. It can be fine. It can really be good. But let's dig deeper. Venus, Mercury, Neptune, and Libra. Venus, Mercury, Neptune, and Libra. Okay, now you've got a real strong tendency for the con artist. With the Mercury 1 degree from Neptune, with the Venus in the triad with it, you got a smooth talker. Somebody who's very smooth with words, very articulate. And if you don't want that, this can be a smooth talker. Venus, Mercury, Neptune, all opposite the moon. All T-squared to Jupiter. What the heck, buddy? What the heck, lady? I didn't mean anything by that. I just pinched you on the shoulder. I didn't mean anything by that. Come on over here, have a drink. What do you think? Hey, don't worry about that. So now the chart's leaning really far away from the Virgo. It's leaning away from the Virgo humility. It's leaning away from the Virgo sense of humanity and respect because it's picking up the social manipulator right here. Remember, this has no birth time. This is a noon chart. So birth time would make it even more focused. So what he does is he's embroiled in all this emotional relationship confusion. He's not sure how to deal with it. And what he does is he puts it into this optimistic, upbeat, happy-go-lucky face that he shows the public. That's the Jupiter. Now we look up top, we see Pluto, Mars, and Leo. Okay, so now you got the Venus, very tempted to follow the Neptune into deception, and now you got the Mars and Leo, which is very tempted towards self-aggrandizement. And the Mars is not far from opposition to Jupiter. So we'll get back to what's happening to now, but let me switch on to what I call is a harmonic chart. And I did his 8th harmonic, which is here. The 8th harmonic is a derivative of the natal, and you use 8 when you look at somebody's sexual habits, power habits. Look at this chart. The sun is next to Mars, and this is not even a birth chart. It's a noon chart. The sun is next to Mars, giving him additional sexual drive. The Venus is next to Saturn, which is giving him extra defensiveness, not allowing true love exchanges, more of a manipulator through emotions. They're both opposite Pluto, and they both T-square Neptune. Pluto opposite Venus and Saturn, T-squared to Neptune and Mercury. So there's the deception. And it's all going through 21 Cancer, 24 Cancer, and lately, all the planets have been stirring up very much at 24th degree. So, back in the birth chart, what has brought him down? Number 1, Neptune has been here for the last couple of years. 10 degrees, 12 degrees, 10 degrees, 12 degrees of Pisces. In his life, Neptune has moved from here all the way to here, 186 years to go around the circle. In his life, Neptune has gone from here to here, and now it's exactly opposite Saturn. It's exactly opposite the sun. And when Neptune opposes the drill sergeant, what should have happened to Mr. O'Reilly was he should have sensed the spiritual growing in himself and started to want to become softer and go with his spiritual flow. Like a guy I read for today. The whole reading took place because he went through his midlife crisis and nothing happened. Well, the midlife crisis happens when Uranus is opposite Uranus at age 42. He went through age 42, 43, nothing happened. Well, that means you're not connected to Uranus. The part that wants to have fun, wants to be yourself. I could tell he was disconnected to that planet. So, likewise, with Neptune opposite his Saturn, and him not softening, him not becoming more spiritual, what do the books tell us Neptune does? Neptune goes for glamour. Glamour. More lights. My show's number 1. I got more glitter. It replaces the true God search impulse with glitter and glamour. Almost every movie star, filmmaker, they have very strong Neptunes because it's otherworldly, it's images. Now, the good ones have the spiritual desire and the artistic desire. So what Neptune did in effect to him in the last few years, plus the full moons that hit the same spot, Neptune exposed him. Now, if you think this is titillating to watch him come down off from his tower, that's not the point. Just like Trump's not the point. This is symbolic to bring down the number 1 stud. It's symbolic that the people are rising. People are speaking up. We're complaining. We're coming forth. We're testifying. She said, no, I don't want the money. Huh? They got Ailes. They got O'Reilly. This is very symbolic in this whole fight that we've been talking about, week number 31. The power is going up. The world's getting worse. The spiritual movement's getting better. The seesaw is happening. So I don't need to harp on his chart. But you've got in his chart too much Libra that is taxed towards becoming deceptive. It drew him away from the Virgo mainstay of being righteous, being honest. Virgos don't do this kind of thing. He does. And then you saw in his eighth harmonic a sexual aberration where he just tried to keep it quiet, try to keep it quiet, try to keep it quiet. You see this in Cosby's chart and in many people that are similar. So when the calling came his way, instead of going with the calling from inside, which was to give up the BS, start to become a real person, he couldn't let go of the glamour. That's what brought him down. Now, the Fox network is different. It's a whole different chart. But I think you can see that it's not the Virgo that brought him down. The Virgo probably helped him, but it was the Neptune, it was the Libra in him, it was Scorpio factions in this chart, it was the Leo pride, and he, well, you know all the stories of what he did with these women and controlling whether they got this job or that job. You don't need to become an expert at this. The reason I do these charts is to show you when you mix these qualities together, how you can come up with a summation. And please don't freak out if you've got one of these aspects or not. Now, do you have any questions about Mr. O'Reilly's chart? I got Susan F. over there giggling. What are you giggling about there?
You just make me laugh. You're so funny. I don't know what it is, but you just make me laugh.
Well, I guess that's a good thing.
No, it is a good thing. I think it's the way you say things.
Well, thank you very much. I have to be very careful because I don't want to hurt people's feelings. I don't want people upset when they have similar planets. I have a very unique ability. I've done this a long time. I can look at a whole chart at one time. I just can do it. And even I'm wrong a lot of the time. So you got to be very careful. And those of you just starting out, just keep in mind there's going to be a long time that you know nothing. And you know, it's a very difficult thing to do. So keep your humble pie on and keep working.
Okay.
Miss Erica. Miss Erica is unmuted now.
Oh, but I can't see my screen, darn it. It went away. That Saturn aspect, what was it close to?
Right, his sun. Right near his sun.
So was that what gave him kind of a kinky aspect to his sexuality?
No. What gave him the kinky is the Venus Neptune. Okay, what Saturn's sun did was Saturn with the two planets in Leo, with the moon in Aries, with Saturn next to the sun, he looked down his nose. You're impure. You deserve to be treated less than. I got to be very careful with my words because you're not working hard and you didn't make it. I made it. I'm the glamour boy. Because you didn't make it, you deserve to be treated less than. And then I guarantee you, if we had the birth time and we went into the past life, you would see how he feels less than. But what's important here is he's symbolic. We have knocked the top guy off the pyramid. This is major stuff. Miss Shanahan is unmuted.
How does, if you pull his chart up with Fox, the Fox network, how does that, because now, because of all of this that's come out with him and Roger Ailes, they're under federal investigation.
The Fox chart is unfortunately a Libra entity. And Libra entities are very, very sharp and smart. They land on their feet. It takes great power to bring someone like them down. And the problem with Fox, if you'll go back 20 years ago and remember how these weird shows started appearing on this network called Fox, is that the darker side of people are drawn to it. The people want to see this junk. There's no mystery thing. Fox is opportunistic. I can't do a midpoint because I don't have a birth time of either. But being the Libra that they are, one's a Libra, one's a Scorpio. One's the Fox Network, one's the Fox News. I've got all those charts. But Libras are smart. They're socially smart. They know how to deliver it in a stylish way. In the background, they got the flags going on. They got everybody dressed up, and they got all the bucks and blondes out there reporting the news. They know what people want to see. Liza tells me when she works in all these homes, etc., for the aged or for people that are gravely ill, a room after room after room after room after room has the Fox News on. Fox knows how to present a package. They know how to do the exact opposite of the BS that Mr. O'Reilly was. Mr. O'Reilly was Mr. Spin. And he told you he was a no spin zone. BS. Enough said. That's the story. He was the spinster. Yeah, Miss Ferguson, yeah.
How long has he worked for Fox News?
I don't know. I think at least 12 years, 14 years. I'm not sure. I want to move on. Okay.
All right.
I was going to say something if I could.
Yes, ma'am.
I read that Fox in the Boston area has now changed their station name from Fox 25 to Boston 25. They are going to try to reframe their brand.
They're all about reframing. If that doesn't sound like the no spin zone. They're the manipulators. They are so destructive. They don't even care if the planet goes down with them.
About his chart, is there evidence of a Saturn return?
I could look, but the Saturn return can only do so much. It's up to the individual. Let's take a look here. Saturn return happens when you're 58.
Well, it happens again later on, doesn't it?
It happens when you're 84.
Oh, I see. I thought it might be
Saturn is here now, so 7 years ago he had a Saturn return. But you can never look at a chart like Trump's chart. You can never look at a chart and get dreamy and textbook and say, "Oh, when this planet comes, it's going to turn him around."
Oh, I see.
You're inviting egg on your face. Good news.
Well,
That's how you learn.
The other issue that I noticed was I was curious a lot about his relationship sector of his chart.
We need the birth time.
Oh, I see.
And I will tell you exactly what the relationship's about. It's the Venus-Neptune. He's going to do what he does, and it is your privilege to be with him.
Well, Ailes sure did support him over the years through all the lawsuits.
He makes money. They're ruthless. Moving on now. I want to show you about Trump's chart. He's the imperfect storm. All right, now, in Mr. Trump's chart, you see the sun is in Gemini, and the moon is in Sag, and the Mars is rising in Leo. These are major, major factors. Notice the 3 BS planets in Libra. Okay? 1946. Those people in 1946 that were born with this Jupiter, Chiron, and Neptune were so lucky, like Neil Young, like Van Morrison. These people are so talented. They have such charm, phenomenal, like Paul Simon. These people have phenomenal charm and ability when it's used right. Here we got the sun in Gemini next to Uranus, opposite the moon in Sag. Born almost exactly during a full moon. 2 hours later, that moon is at 22, opposite the sun, 22. So about 2 hours before the full moon. Could have been an eclipse. Here's the story. When you have a Gemini, this is like taking your canvas and starting your first stroke. All Geminis exist on a yellow background. They're bright, they're light, they're intellectual, they're childlike. I wrote a list for last night's class. Let's focus on the spirit of these people, the following people who are Geminis. Michael Myers, Bob Hope, Dana Carvey, Michael J. Fox, Amy Schumer. They're all very childlike and light. Dana Carvey's a really good example of a Gemini. They're kind of harmless. They're fun. I know, Elke, you have a good friend as a Gemini, which this should make sense to you. So you can't paint a big picture from the sun sign. But what you can do is understand this by reading the Exquisite Zodiac. By nature, they do not have a center. They don't have a center yet. They're the third sign of the zodiac. They're intellect, they're smart, they're talkative. Doesn't mean they're heartless, but they don't have a real big center. The Gemini part itself. Now remember, we're all a mixture of many things. Okay, and a lot of times we find Geminis to be very evasive. They change the subject. And one reason they change the subject is they don't want to be nailed to what they don't know. They can't stand being found out. And it's not something real big and devious. It's just they're rather lighthearted. They can't stand going underground, glub, 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 underwater. They need to keep things light. Find out about this. Find out about this. What's about this? What's about this? What did he say? He wants all presidential reports to have no more than 9 items on a piece of paper with 9 bulleted items. He hasn't read a book in, what, a couple years? Okay, he wants 9 bulleted items. They talk about his lack of attention. These are all typical Gemini traits. But that's not the problem. I mean, we have a Gemini, and you all know Geminis, and this is their basic nature. They're not evasive to be underhanded. They just don't want to get stuck in something. They want to move on. Remember, Gemini lives in the future. What's over the next fence will be better. What's over the next fence will be better. That's why they can't sit still. Now, you put the moon in Sagittarius. Now, the moon in Sagittarius is an awful lot like the sun in Gemini. Very similar. The moon in Sag is your emotions, and it's upbeat, and it's fun-loving. Don't stop my good time. Okay, now you bring in the qualities that are quite possible of the used car salesman. Now you've got the two. You've got the Gemini aggravating the moon in Sag, and the moon in Sag aggravating the sun in Gemini, and the sun is over next to Uranus. Now you've got 3 times 2 times 1 equals 6 million factors here that are slippery. Now you know why slippery. Because they're so aggravated by each other, given additional factors with the Jupiter, Neptune, Chiron down in Libra, which could be wonderful. But he doesn't have the center. I'm not going to say Sag doesn't have a center, but Sagittarius, the Sagittarian energy, is the energy that has no control. They can't control the energy. They're pre-Saturnian. They're the planet before Saturn, which is control, discipline. So now you've got a no control with a no control with a no control next to Uranus. A big time masterful BSer. I'm giving you my opinion. I'm going to face all kind of crap for what I know, and that's okay, because if somebody wants to show me their careful study of the chart and tell me why it's different, then do so. Don't just yell about being pro-Trump. The guy's chart is extremely dangerous. I told somebody today, we need to bombard the White House with plastic pails and shovels. He needs to go in the sandbox and stay there. This is what he is. He does not understand a bigger world. This is a typical Gemini thing, but Geminis can become much bigger and broader from other factors, where their Saturn is, where their Virgo is, where their Capricorn is. But in his chart, he just spins everything. Everything has to be of service to him. And that's because of the Mars and Leo rising. Now you take all of this stuff and you take this super defensive person that doesn't have a center, and you put Mars and Leo on the ascendant, and Mars and Leo means, I said I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. Watch me, I'll do it. Sign the paper. See everybody? Sign the paper. See what I did? Damn right I did. But none of these things are the secret. Here's the secret. And don't be depressed, because I'm going to show you the light at the end of the tunnel, because there is one, in my opinion. Here's the secret to the chart. Venus and Saturn in Cancer, about 2 degrees apart. Personal planets, they describe the personality. The Sun in young Gemini, the Moon in Sag. A bucket pattern to the Moon. Another bucket pattern to the Moon. Where? They don't treat me right. They treat me good. They don't treat me right. They treat me good. Every sentence has the word treat. Nobody loves women like I do. Nobody. Personal planets. Mercury in young and Cancer. Venus in Cancer. Mars in Leo. But the Venus-Saturn is the problem. Here's why. Venus-Saturn is very common. I see it all the time. And I told you what I think it is. It's you're welcome into the foyer, but you ain't getting in the house. It is really common. I see it everywhere. It's people that have, I think you see it because they really try socially. These people really try socially because Saturn and Jupiter are very social planets. But they're not letting you in. They can't. Most people. When it's in Cancer, watch out. Because now you've got somebody without a center. And a lot of Gemini people are very touchy about this. A lot of Gemini people are very touchy about being light, not wanting to go deeper. And their reputation of being superficial is in a large way true. Not always. Now the Venus and Saturn is what? You didn't give me what I needed. You didn't give me what I needed. You didn't give me what I wanted. Yeah, well, you will pay. Well, you will pay. And you will pay. And Mars is rising in Leo. And I'll make you pay. So everything he does is about payback. It's about the Mars Saturn. Somebody is not muted. I'm not sure who it is. Let me see. I'll just take a moment. This is a very, there it is. This is a very difficult chart to be, because a lot of people that have this inner early bruising, my monitor shut off, whatever. A lot of people that have this inner bruising keep it quiet and go to their room and don't make a fuss. But when you have Mars and Leo on the ascendant, you're going to make a fuss. What else do we see? It's much bigger than this. Uranus is in the 10th house in Gemini. This is Mr. Masterful Tweeter. Uranus in Gemini is the symbol of the mass tweeter. Short little messages, Gemini, going over all the world, disrupting everything within seconds. That's Uranus. He's a master tweeter. I don't even need to go on much about this chart, because the question becomes, why was this man around for so long? And now he's everywhere. Everybody's being affected. Why is that? That's what tonight's meeting is about. Well, you're not going to believe it. I sure hope our other person shows up, who's going to be our guinea pig. Surely. Why? You have to constantly remember that when you're looking at a social figure, you're looking at a face of the collective that's changing. Trump is the collective that's changing. Now, you're going to see three unbelievable things come up next. I don't even know what to say about it. I did a midpoint chart between him and the chart of the United States. And not only is it accurate and unbelievable, what it did for me is it validated the birth time of the United States. It validated it. After 37 years of not being sure, and 7 great big charts that astrologers use, arguing over the birth time of the country, I'm certain I was born at 2:17 in the morning. Here's why. Because I did the midpoint chart between Trump and the USA. What's a midpoint chart? Well, Karen and I are friends. Karen's in Scorpio, I'm a Capricorn. We find the 2 degrees of the sun. The sun's midpoint's in Sagittarius. Her moon is in Pisces, mine is in Pisces. We find the midpoint, we put the moon at the midpoint. We take the Marses, find the midpoint. The computer does it for you. It comes up with a chart of the dyad. Not the Karen, not the Rick, but the Karen and Rick. A midpoint chart known as a composite. You can study these with people like Lennon and McCartney, any great duo. It tells you a lot about the dyad. Well, when I put him together with the chart of the country, this is what I got. One second. Okay, this is a mixture of Trump's chart with the United States. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 planets in the 12th or 1st house. 6. Across the ascendant is the moon. Don't pay attention to Eris. This great big bucket pattern, there's the moon. There are 3 unbelievable things that just happened. 1, besides the fact that all these planets are in the 12th house, which means this relationship is extremely karmic. Three things are unbelievable. One, that the moon is opposite all these planets and the handle of this great big bucket. Two, the moon is right on the descendant. 1908, 1942. 1908 is the descendant. The moon is 1942. Three, where's Pluto right now? Right there. Pluto is sitting, here it is, 1923. Pluto is sitting almost precisely on the moon. Now, this takes a staff of excellent astrologers to even potentially explain to you what this means. This is why people are scared. It's why it's so tumultuous. It's why he's running away with this no sign. All the signs say no, 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 no. None of this, none of that, none of that. What's happening? Well, you got to keep your cool. There are very good signs here. What is the moon? The moon are the women of the country. What is the moon? The moon is the public. This is not just America. This is the whole world, because America is symbolic of the whole world, because we're the leader. This guy is, it's like taking the one person who could not handle what he's doing and putting him in the most powerful position possible. The disparity is unbelievable that you can't ignore. All right. The moon is very, very sensitive. It rules your property, the people, the traditions, the public, women, women's rights, women's sexual rights, blah, 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 blah. The comfort, the security, all things Cancerian. And I think you would agree, all those issues are stirring heavily right now. But for Pluto to be on that planet, that's at the tip of the bucket, that's on the descendant, it's no wonder things are shaking like they are. And it tells me without a doubt, this was all meant to be. This man is playing a role as an avatar. And avatars are not always good things. So what's the negative side of the moon? What's the negative side of the moon? What's the problem? The problem all comes down to one thing. I've got somebody talking. Okay. Let me fix this again. What's the problem here? And this is why we're going to start solving this. What's the problem here? The problem is codependency. Cancer is an energy that gets thrown into the water. They're not ready to swim. And they grab on to anything, because anybody would when you're sinking. This is why America has such a habit of, we'll take any president who can tell us that assure us that we're going to be okay, because we found the trouble, we're going to go bomb the shit out of them, and then you'll be okay. That's what's ending. That's what's on the carpet. That's why he got elected. That's the problem. Liza and I wrote about Pluto 10 years ago, and we knew it was coming, but still to see it happen, it's shocking to us. But thank God it's happening. And these women that stood up to O'Reilly and these others, it's just wonderful. Whoever this 412 number is, somebody's got a telephone that is on. Let me see here. I don't think it's me. There it is. Mute and mute. Now we're okay. So what's at store here is we're being shown our codependency. What is codependency? If you don't talk about it, I won't talk about it. We won't have a problem. There's a great big bear at the door. I'm not talking about it. You don't talk about it. There's no bear there. It's funny how the bear represents Russia. You see how it's being personified through other countries? What do you think this guy's going to do when somebody's messing with his sandbox and North Korea starts doing this jive talking? He's sending aircraft carriers there. Pluto is the planet of atomic war. I mean, this is no lighthearted thing. This is dangerous. So, the way we deal with him.
Is that why we can shoot bears in their dens now? Trump passed a law about.
That's very good, Marilyn. That's sickening. But you're right. We're now allowed to shoot the mama bear and her babies while they're sleeping.
And wolves.
Sure, that's symbolic. Yeah. Wonderful perception. Wonderful. Sure it is. Beautiful. But
can I ask a question?
1 second, please.
Okay.
What's happening here? What's it going to take till we wake up? We've seen a 3-year-old Syrian child dead on the beach. What's it going to take? And Americans, we're just, we're wonderful people, but we're just so over-cancered. We're just so used to being safe all the time.
Distracted.
Well, that's true too. But
technology distracts
all
us.
Those things are true, but we're so safe. Nobody bugs us. There can't be any problem. Oh, Elke, she's from Germany. Germans have trouble all around them. Oh, they're from Belgium. They got trouble all around them. But Americans, things don't happen here. We're going to build a wall and keep the bad guys out. They're already here. So all of this adds up to wakening up. Now, was it Erica that wanted to speak? Who was it?
I did.
Yeah, please.
Oh, sorry, Erica. Sorry.
Yeah,
you go ahead.
Elke, you'll be next, honey.
Yeah.
Erica, you're unmuted. Go ahead.
Thank you. I've been watching 60 Minutes or National Geographic. I don't know what it is, but it's about the First World War, where they showed the films and they showed how we came to the aid of France in the nick of time and crushed Germany. And then, of course, the Nazis came back and we crushed them again. We just have this perception by the rest of the world that we are the toughest because we came in and,
but it doesn't work
had no
anymore.
fear.
It doesn't work anymore because that's why they're sending terrorists.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that's why we've got this mindset for so long, and it's time to realize that
we're not waking up because it's no longer true. It's no longer true.
We have to get the rest of the world involved and not just be the ones that are always.
The absolute number one thing Trump is doing wrong is insisting that we be first again. We've always been first. That's the trouble. That's the trouble.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get all hyper about this. Go ahead, Elke. Thank you, Erica.
I have a two-part question. And one is, if he were the monkey with the nuclear codes, is there anybody who else makes these decisions? Is there anybody that could stop him?
Yeah. The men who are trained, they have to be 20 feet away turning the key at the same time.
Okay.
They're heavily, heavily trained, and they have backups. They're heavily trained to be very conscious, and if they feel that it came from somebody who's nuts, they will not turn the key. But what I saw yesterday, how about this one? They put a proposal yesterday into Congress to have the past presidents and past vice presidents added to the 25th Amendment, that not only does 2/3 of the Congress have to vote to declare him unfit, but they're trying to get an amendment where the past presidents who would know what it takes to get their voices heard too. They've been there. They've done that. They've been through crisis. And I think they're mature enough to know to go beyond party lines. What is your next question?
Well, that I think even if it had something to do with nuclear power, that the people would have to stand up to him to such a degree. It's like everybody in the US is Cancerian, really. I mean, they're ruled by this.
Yeah.
And if it threatened their security, their home, I think you would see just the worst uprising that there is, you know, because...
What are you going to do? Are you going to try to keep telling people they were the kind of country that doesn't torture? But we do, but you don't, but you do, but we don't, but you do. How can you go through an identity crisis with these schizoid Gemini types of opinions? We don't, but we do. That's what we're doing. We've accepted it. That's the story. That's the kind of thing Suzanne's fighting about. She's trying to politely gather people together to be more conscious. And we can't just go back to our TV. And we got to listen to shows like this and start more shows where we're bitching and complaining.
Hey Rick.
Yeah.
I think it's called cognitive dissonance.
Exactly.
Yeah. People can't handle the truth sometimes. And the truth is out there. More people than you realize, even Trump supporters, are realizing why we're in the Middle East, that it was determined after World War II to destabilize the region. And people just don't know where to go with it.
Well, the problem with Cancer energy is this, and this is down to the basics. Here comes the thought of having experience A. B becomes, oh, I'm going to interrupt A before I see what C is. In other words, they get so afraid of C being unpleasant that they don't go through A, B, C. They skip taking the action because they don't want to risk the possibility of C even happening. So there's no natural flow. There's a lot of, I'm going to see what I want to see because I have to see it that way. That's it. I'm going to see what I want to see because I have to see it that way because I can't live with the possibility of C. That's the problem. Instead of maturity, we're going to do the best A we can. B starts to happen, which is what we thought. C comes out, and we deal with it the best we can. That's maturity. Make sense? Okay. Next question. The first question I have before everybody is this. Let's see here. Is Shirley here? I don't see a Shirley. Okay, we'll just skip past her. She's scheduled. Oh, she says she's here. Where are you on the screen, Shirley? I need a camera on you and I need a microphone.
She's down there.
I don't see her. I don't see her on my screen.
There's no video. There's no video of her, but it says Shirley on her screen.
Okay, it's not working right. Can you be heard?
Can you hear me?
Is that Shirley?
Yeah.
Okay, good. We can hear you. We'll get to you in just a minute. Thank you.
No
I'm
problem.
going to wrap this up with Trump, but I want to tell you what this means. It takes so much shaking up to get us to act. And that's what's happening. And I think you're seeing Dan Rather come out of retirement devoted to stopping Trump. I'm not politically correct. I want him stopped because I care about the people of this country. And I don't believe he cares about anything but himself. My opinion. Any more question about Trump? And if not, I'm going to Shirley's chart.
I have one.
Yes, Marilyn.
At some point, can we take a look at Melania? Because she has an Instagram account.
Yeah, I've done Melania. She's very
Yeah.
very uninteresting.
Well, she
But
certainly is in hiding.
well, sure, she's a Taurus. She can't handle all this stuff.
Oh, really? She's a Taurus?
Yeah.
Well, I noticed
Oh,
that
we will look at her chart, certainly. Yeah, and his daughter, too. We will.
yeah,
But the story is Trump himself.
yeah.
Have
Yeah,
you, hey Rick,
Erica-
have you ever done Kim Jong Un?
Yeah, Young, he's nuts. He's just nuts. He's got the sensible Capricorn, but he's got 3 or 4 planets in Sag, including Jupiter, Neptune. So he's off. He really thinks that God has ordained him and he can do anything he wants. And the whole world is just like all those people out there in his courtyard, whatever you call it. He thinks the whole world's like that. La la land. He is, what have I been telling you for years now? The U.S. has to change how it treats other countries, or open enemies are going to come after us. The enemies we know of. It's what I've been harping on for at least 7, 8 years. That's what's happening, coming through Syria, coming through ISIS, coming through North Korea. Yeah, Patricia.
Yeah. What would you suggest we do? What
What?
can
Let
we
me
do?
ask you that question.
Yeah.
What do you, I get so tired of hearing that question.
Yeah.
What do you suggest you do, Patricia?
I'm ready to rush the White House and shove him out the back door.
That ain't going to work.
Physically,
That
but
ain't
that's
gonna
not
work.
going to work.
No. Give me sane answers, everybody. What do you think we have to do?
Well, I know what we have to do. We need to somehow change our economy. The president really isn't in charge. The people that start the wars and continue the wars are the corporations and the multinationals. We only have so much power in this country, so we need to get our country back.
Well, we never really had a country. We've just a different size dollar figures, really. I like what Susan A. is talking about.
My 2 cents I'll throw in, Rick.
Everybody needs to speak up. I'm not hearing everybody.
Okay, well, I'll just real fast. I mean, a couple of things. Think about where we are and think about where we're going. I mean, right now, this is Pluto and Capricorn time. We know it's going to go on for a few more years, but 2023 and 2024 is when Pluto ingresses into Aquarius. You're going to be dealing with corporations and big money and all that stuff for a while to come yet. That doesn't mean we can't organize and get ready for what comes next. I think this is the time to do it. I mean, because, we only have 6 more years before Pluto moves into Aquarius. But, I mean, this is what we're up against right now.
Organizing complaint.
Organize. When Pluto gets
It's
to
got to come from the women.
Yeah.
It's got to come from the women.
Absolutely, without a doubt. And those of us like me and Rick who are sympathetic to women as well. But yeah, organize. When Pluto gets to Aquarius, power is going to shift away from the corporations. Not that they won't still have some, but you will see them weaken dramatically, and they're going to hate it, but they're not going to be able to do anything about it. And if they don't know astrology, they don't know why that's going to happen. Power is going to shift to the people, to groups.
You're exactly right. Mark,
get ready. Do it
Mark,
now.
what's your question, Mark?
No, I was going to comment on what we can do.
Speak up, please.
Can you hear me, Rick?
Yeah.
Okay, I was going to comment on what we can do. Unfortunately, I think that given the age of the audience online with us, we come from a time when we are expecting consensus. In other words, we believe that our institutions allow us to build consensus and we can move forward on consensus. But as you've so ably pointed out, Rick, week after week after week, we're all past consensus making. And as John just said, it's because of the power of the corporations. The corporations run everything. So the question is, what can an individual do? Well, the first thing to do is stop expecting consensus to happen. So, for example, I grew up in a family that helped to run the elections, okay? Very civically minded, wanted to participate, etc. Well, those institutions have broken down. So what can you do as an individual? The biggest thing we can each do as an individual is something called dissensus. Not consensus building, but dissensus. What does that mean? That means that we each individually find our own way to fight the established powers that be.
Okay, now you got a terrific answer, and I'm not going to toot my horn. Look what I have done. I've done this. I mean, it ain't rocking the world, but it gets out. You need to do this in your own circle, in your own realm. Don't shut up. Don't keep it quiet. Complain. Say something. This isn't right. That's all I know.
Rick and Mark, I totally agree with you. The other thing is that I think I genuinely believe this. I don't know how this is going to look, but I do think we're moving into a time in which the parties are going to break up. We're not going to see this as a Democrat versus Republican thing anymore. I don't know how exactly this happens, but it's just a very, very strong feeling and inclination that I have that, I mean, we're going to see, I don't know if it's a multi-party system or what. It may not even be any party. It may just be groups, ad hoc groups, as you talk about, Mark, and everybody, people will band together, and it may produce some very interesting coalitions. Maybe on one issue, everybody gets together and says, hey, we have to deal with healthcare, right and left. It's not going to be, I don't think we're going to see this fall on the traditional right-left spectrum. People may band together for one issue.
All you have to do is act.
It's something else.
It's the same Holy Spirit working through all of us.
Yes.
And each of you needs to act in accord to what you're good at, what you're interested in.
Yeah.
I like the keywords connection and care. That's my watchword.
Beautiful.
Hey, Rick, just let me jump in. What Susan, you said, interest groups or parties are part of the system. As we see the systems breaking down, I mean, this is Pluto and Capricorn. As we've been talking about, the old structures are going away.
They've already broke.
Yeah, they're
already broken.
See new things. I honestly think a lot of what we see in terms of the new stuff is going to come up after a couple of the new upcoming conjunctions we have, particularly
August.
Saturn and Jupiter and Aquarius coming up, the conjunction that takes place in 2020, and it's a brand new cycle that we're seeing these conjunctions in air, because we're moving away from Earth. Now we're going in the air. So I think we're going to see more social ideas, structures, things of that nature coming up in groups in general, and all that ties into Pluto and Aquarius as well. I just think it's just going to be organized. And it's going to be local. It's not going to be, we're going to have national issues, we're going to have global issues, but I think a lot of the action is going to be at the local level. There's going to be plenty for people to do right where you are.
Liza called that one 10 years ago.
Where in Columbus, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Detroit, wherever you are.
I'm afraid we would be better off to ask Shirley to postpone till next week, because this discussion is hot and heavy. It needs to continue on its own. It's got a life of its own. John's making marvelous points. But the thing is, people keep asking, what can I do? I mean, I don't even want to answer. I don't have the answer to it. What do you think you can do?
Well, Rick, one of the things you can do is start real simply as well. Not everybody is meant to go out and protest and be an activist, but you just reach out your hand to people you normally don't talk to. Whether it's racial divide or whatever, you become allies with everybody. And because we're all in the same boat, the earth is being destroyed. We're going to run out of resources. So we all need to come together and quit buying into the separate state that we're in. That is, the narrative is from the government making different people, races, and different cultures not like one another. We need to reach out our hand to everybody, talk to them, connect with them, invite them over for dinner, and really have a discussion as an adult. Where do we go from here for our children's sake? So I think you can start real simple. And also the whole idea about sacred economics. Like if you are a physician and there's people in your neighborhood that can't afford health care, well, go ahead and treat them for free. We can sidestep the economy that we have right now if enough people take matters into their own hands.
Okay, thank you, Susan. Very good. I want to hear from Susan Navarre because she's been feverishly typing. You're unmuted. She's had about 15 really good ideas in a row, and all of you need to speak up or turn your microphones up, please.
Basically, I taught history for 26 years. I don't see any way to get around the two-party system and the election process without ripping the Constitution to shreds and starting over. There isn't any legal foundation for it. And the way to get rid of this guy is the law.
Susan.
The problem is he surrounded himself with a solid cabinet,